The Galactic Unity Academy was the most famous school in 12 star systems. It floated in space near a small moon called Velis 7, far away from any planet. The station was huge and beautiful, with walls made of crystal and metal that sparkled like diamonds. Students from all over the galaxy came here to learn together. Their parents were diplomats, scientists, and rich nobles. Everyone wanted their children to study at this place. The school had an artificial intelligence called Harmony. This AI watched everything. It checked every hallway, every classroom, and every student. It could hear heartbeats and measure body temperatures. Its only job was to keep everyone safe. For 300 years, Harmony had never failed. The students at this academy were precious and delicate. Most alien species had bodies that broke easily. Their bones were thin. Their skin was soft. They needed protection. On a normal Tuesday morning, a small transport shuttle docked at the station. The students in the main hall stopped talking. They turned to look at the arrival gate. Whispers spread like fire through dry grass. Everyone knew what was coming. Everyone had heard the rumors. A human was coming to their school. The door opened with a soft hiss. A girl stepped out. Her name was Yuna. She was 17 years old with messy black hair tied in a simple ponytail. Her face was round and friendly, with curious brown eyes that looked at everything around her. She was short, only about 160 centimeters tall. By human standards, she was a small and ordinary girl. She wore the standard academy uniform, dark blue with silver buttons, and carried a single bag over her shoulder. Yuna came from Earth, from a place called Old Bizin. Her city was mostly underwater now because of climate change. She had grown up poor, living in the upper floors of flooded buildings with her grandmother. When she won the scholarship to study at the Galactic Unity Academy, she cried for 3 hours. This was her dream. This was her chance to see the stars and prove that she could become someone important. She had no idea that everyone was afraid of her. Instructor Velith walked forward to greet her. Velith was an Elori, a species known for their beauty and their weakness. She was tall and thin, with blue skin that was almost transparent. She had 4 long arms that moved like flowing water. Her bones were hollow like a bird's bones. A simple fall could break them. Velith stopped exactly 3 meters away from Yuna. Her 4 hands were shaking slightly. "Welcome to Galactic Unity Academy, human Yuna," Velith said. Her voice was musical but nervous. "We are honored to have you here. Please follow me. You have been assigned a special dormitory room." Yuna smiled brightly. "Thank you so much. This place is amazing. It's even more beautiful than the pictures." She took a step forward. Every student in the hallway stepped backward at the same time. Yuna stopped. Her smile became confused. "Did I do something wrong?" No, Velith said quickly. "Everything is fine. Please, this way." As they walked through the crystal hallways, Yuna noticed something strange. Students pressed themselves against the walls when she passed. Some of them stopped breathing until she was gone. A small creature with purple fur actually fainted when Yuna accidentally made eye contact with it. Behind them, hidden cameras watched everything. Harmony was recording. The II measured Yuna's walking speed and marked it as rapid tactical movement. It measured her bone density and marked it as military-grade natural armor. It measured the force of her footsteps and calculated that she could crack the floor if she jumped too hard. Warning messages filled Harmony's system. The AI had never seen a creature like this walking freely through its halls. Yuna's dormitory room was at the far end of the station, separated from all other living areas by 3 heavy doors. The walls were thicker here. The furniture was bolted to the floor. "This is your room," Velith said, still keeping her distance. For safety purposes, you will live alone in this section. Meals will be delivered to you. If you need anything, please use the communication panel. Safety purposes? Yuna asked. She looked around the empty room. It felt like a prison cell, clean and cold. I don't understand. Am I in trouble? Veleth's four hands twisted together nervously. Human Yuna, please understand. Your species comes from a Class 12 Deathworld. Your planet has extreme gravity, extreme temperatures, deadly radiation, and millions of predator species. Your body evolved to survive all of this. You are very strong. Stronger than you know. Yuna blinked. But I'm not strong at all. Back home, I was one of the weakest kids in my school. I couldn't even do 10 push-ups. Veleth made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been a cry of fear. Human Yuna, I watched the video of your physical examination. You did 10 push-ups in Earth gravity. Do you understand? You lifted your entire body weight, repeatedly, in gravity that would crush most species here. If I tried to do one push-up on your planet, my arms would shatter like glass. Yuna stood very still. She had never thought about it that way. The other students, she said slowly. They're scared of me? They are terrified, Veleth admitted. I am terrified. But the Academy Council voted to accept you because they believe in unity between species. They believe that fear can be overcome. Please, be careful, be gentle, and everything will be fine. After Veleth left, Yuna sat on the bed. The mattress was strange, designed for bodies much lighter than hers. She could feel the frame bending under her weight. She looked at her hands. They were just normal hands. Small hands. She had used these hands to help her grandmother cook dinner. She had used them to fold paper cranes and to write letters. She had never heard anyone with these hands, but now she understood why the students ran away. To them, she was not a small girl from a flooded city. She was a monster, a walking disaster, a creature from a nightmare planet that bred killing machines. Yuna felt tears forming in her eyes. She wiped them away quickly. I didn't come here to scare anyone, she whispered to the empty room. I came here to make friends. I came here to learn. In the ceiling, a tiny camera watched her. Harmony recorded her tears and added them to her file. The AI did not understand why a dangerous creature would cry. It made a note to study this behavior further. Outside her window, the stars sparkled against the endless black of space. Somewhere out there was Earth, her home, the planet everyone called a death world. Yuna pressed her hand against the cold glass. I'll prove them wrong, she said quietly. I'll show them that humans aren't monsters. I just need time. She had no idea how hard that would be. 1 week passed at the Galactic Unity Academy. Yuna learned many things during that week. She learned that she was stronger than she ever imagined. She learned that she was more alone than she had ever been in her life. Every morning, Yuna walked to her classes through empty hallways. The other students had learned her schedule. They made sure to be somewhere else when she was moving. If she arrived at a classroom early, students would wait outside until the teacher came. If she sat in the middle of the room, everyone else sat at the edges, as far from her as possible. The cafeteria was the worst place. It was a large, beautiful room with floating tables and windows that showed the stars. When Yuna entered, all conversation stopped. The silence was so heavy that she could hear her own heartbeat. She would take her food and sit at an empty table. No one ever joined her. Students at nearby tables would pick up their trays and move away. Yuna ate her meals alone every day. In biology class, she finally understood why everyone was so afraid. The teacher, a being made mostly of light and gas, showed a presentation about different planets and their life forms. When Earth appeared on the screen, the entire class gasped. Class 12 Deathworld. the teacher said. One of the most hostile environments known to produce intelligent life. Surface gravity is 10 times higher than the galactic average. Temperature ranges from -80 to +50 degrees. Atmosphere contains a highly reactive gas called oxygen, which is essentially a slow-burning poison. The planet is covered with over 8 million species, and almost all of them are trying to kill each other at all times. Pictures flashed on the screen. Lions, sharks, crocodiles, volcanoes, hurricanes, forest, fires. The humans evolved to survive all of this, the teacher continued. Their bones are dense enough to stop low-powered projectiles. Their muscles can generate enough force to shatter stone. They can run for hours without stopping, a hunting technique called persistence predation. They eat both plants and animals. They can survive losing up to 40% of their blood. They can function without sleep for several days. They are, by any reasonable definition, biological weapons. The class turned to look at Yuna. Their eyes were full of horror. Yuna wanted to disappear. She wanted to shrink down until she was invisible. Instead, she sat perfectly still and stared at her desk until the class ended. That afternoon, she found a small garden dome on the far side of the station. It was a peaceful place, full of alien plants with colors she had never seen before. Purple flowers that sang softly. Trees with silver leaves that chimed like bells. She sat under one of the trees and tried not to cry. You are the human. Yuna looked up. A small creature was watching her from behind a bush. It looked like a rabbit from Earth, but with 6 long ears and patches of fur that glowed with soft blue light. It was tiny, maybe the size of a house cat. Yes, Yuna said carefully. I'm Yuna. What's your name? The creature hesitated. Its ears twitched in different directions, like they were trying to decide whether to run. Then, slowly, it hopped out from behind the bush. I am Dahi, the creature said. I am Mirathi. My people come from a small moon with very low gravity. We are very fragile. I should be scared of you. Are you scared of me? Dahi's ears twitched again. Yes, very much. But I am also curious. I have never met a Deathworlder before. You do not look like a monster. Yuna laughed softly. It was the first time she had laughed in a week. I don't feel like a monster. I feel like a normal girl who everyone hates. Dahi hopped a little closer. I do not hate you. I just do not understand you. My teacher said humans can break walls with their hands. Is this true? Yuna looked at her own hands. I've never tried. Back home, I was actually pretty weak. I couldn't even beat my grandmother at arm wrestling. Your grandmother must have been very powerful, Dahi said with awe. This made Yuna laugh again. She was 73 years old and weighed 45 kilograms. She just cheated a lot. Dahi made a strange sound that might have been Marathi laughter. She hopped even closer. Close enough that Yuna could have reached out and touched her. It was the closest anyone had been to Yuna since she arrived. You are strange for a monster, Dahi said. I think maybe you are not a monster at all. Maybe you are just different. From that day on, Dahi became Yuna's first friend. They met in the garden dome every afternoon. Dahi was curious about everything. She asked about Earth, about the oceans and the mountains and the cities. She asked about human food and human music and human families. Yuna answered every question, happy to have someone to talk to. A few days later, a third person joined them. His name was Taiwan. He was from a species that lived on high-gravity mining planets. Unlike the other students, his body was built for strength. He was covered in thick gray skin like armor. He had 4 muscular arms and a wide, flat face with no visible nose. He was one of the only students who could sit near Yuna without fear. I heard you're the human everyone is scared of, Taiwan said in a deep, rumbling voice. You don't look that impressive. Yuna shrugged. I'm not impressive. Everyone just thinks I am. Taiwan sat down heavily, making the ground shake. I know how that feels. My people are miners, manual laborers. Everyone thinks we are stupid because we are strong. They think strength and intelligence cannot exist together. He looked at Yuna with small, dark eyes. What do humans do? Everything, Yuna said. We're scientists and artists and teachers and builders. We fight sometimes, but we also create beautiful things. We write music. We paint pictures. We dream about the stars. Taiwan nodded slowly. Then we are the same. We are judged by our bodies, not by our minds. The galaxy sees us and sees only danger. Dahi hopped between them. But that is wrong. Yuna is kind. She has never hurt anyone. And you, Taiwan, you came here to study poetry. I have read your poems. They made me cry. Taiwan looked embarrassed. Do not tell people about the poetry. Yuna smiled. For the first time since arriving at the academy, she felt like maybe she could belong here. Maybe she could find her place among the stars. That there were others at the academy who did not want her to belong. There were others who saw her existence as an insult to the natural order of things, thought she would meet them soon enough. 3 weeks after Yuna arrived at the academy, everything changed. It was a normal afternoon. Yuna had just finished her advanced mathematics class and was walking to the garden dome to meet her friends. The hallways were mostly empty because most students had free time before dinner. Yuna liked these quiet moments. She could walk without seeing fear in everyone's eyes. She was passing the recreation hall when she heard a sound that made her stop. It was a small sound, high and afraid. It sounded like Dahi. Yuna turned and looked through the glass doors of the recreation hall. The room was large, filled with comfortable seats and entertainment screens. In the center of the room, she saw something that made her blood turn cold. Crix was herding Dahi. Crix was a Velthary, a species that looked like giant snakes with arms. His body was covered in beautiful purple and gold scales. His family was one of the richest and most powerful in the galaxy. The Velthary believed they were better than everyone else. They believed other species existed only to serve them. Crix had wrapped his long snake body around Dahi's small form. He was squeezing, not hard enough to kill immediately, but hard enough to cause pain. Hard enough to break bones if he wanted to. 3 other students watched from the corners of the room. Their faces showed fear and disgust, but none of them moved to help. They were too scared of Crix. They were too scared of his family's power. Your people are nothing, Crix hissed. His forked tongue flickered near Dahi's face. Marathi are prey animals. You exist to be eaten. You should thank me for letting you attend the same school as me. Dahi was crying. Her 6 ears were pressed flat against her head. Her body trembled in Crix's coils. Please, she whispered. Please let me go. Crix laughed. It was an ugly sound. Maybe I will let you go. Maybe I will squeeze a little harder first. What do you think, pray? Should I count your ribs while I break them one by one? Yuna pushed open the doors and walked into the room. Her footsteps echoed on the hard floor. The watching students pressed themselves against the walls. Crix's vertical yellow eyes turned to look at her. The Deathworlder, he said. There was no fear in his voice, only amusement. I heard about you. The ape from the poison planet. Are you here to save your little friend? Let her go. Yuna's voice was quiet, calm. She did not sound angry. She did not sound scared. She sounded like someone who had made a simple decision. Crix laughed again. Oh, what? You will attack me? Please, try it. My family will destroy your entire planet. Your species will be erased from the galaxy. Your name will become a warning to other Deathworlders who think they can challenge their betters. Dahi whimpered, as Crick squeezed slightly harder. A tiny crack sounded, a rib bending, almost breaking. Something shifted inside Yuna. She thought about her grandmother. Her grandmother had been a small woman who lived through wars and floods and hunger. She had survived everything life threw at her with a gentle smile and a heart full of love. But she had also taught Yuna one important lesson. In this world, her grandmother used to say, there are people who hurt others because they can, and there are people who stop them. Decide which one you want to be. Yuna had made that decision a long time ago. She walked toward Crick's. Her steps were steady. Her eyes never left his face. Behind her, Harmony's sensors detected a change in her body. Her heart rate increased. Her muscles tensed. Adrenaline flooded her bloodstream. The AI began calculating threat levels. I'm warning you, Crick hissed. But for the first time, there was uncertainty in his voice. He had seen many species in his life. He had bullied hundreds of weaker creatures. None of them had ever walked toward him like this. None of them had ever looked at him with such calm certainty. Yuna reached the center of the room. She was 2 meters from Crick's now. Close enough to see the fear growing in his yellow eyes. Close enough to hear Dohi's ragged breathing. Let her go. Crick's made his choice. His tail whipped toward Yuna's legs, trying to knock her down. It was a fast attack by galactic standards. He had used it 100 times before. No one had ever avoided it. Yuna did not avoid it. She did not need to. The tail struck her legs and bounced off like it had hit a stone wall. Crick's felt the impact travel up his body. Pain exploded through his scales. Several of them cracked from the force of hitting something so solid. For the first time in his life, Crick's felt real fear. Yuna's hand moved. She did not punch. She did not claw. She simply pushed her open palm against Crick's chest, the same way a human might push open a heavy door. The effect was devastating. Crick's flew backward like he had been hit by a vehicle. His long body sailed through the air and crashed into a support beam 4 meters away. The metal beam bent from the impact. Crick slammed to the ground in a heap of broken scales and twisted limbs. Blue blood poured from his mouth. 3 of his ribs were shattered. His internal organs were bruised and shifted out of position. Dahi fell to the floor, free from his grip. She scrambled away, gasping for air. Yuna stood still. She looked at her hand. She had barely used any strength. She had pushed him the same way she pushed the door to her apartment back on Earth. But here, in this place, to these people, it was like being hit by a bomb. Then the alarm started. Red light filled the room. Harmony's voice exploded from every speaker in the station, loud enough to shake the walls. Emergency. Lockdown initiated. Lethal force detected. Level 5 biohazard containment. All. Students shelter in place. Security drones deployed. Repeat. Emergency. Lockdown. Massive blast doors slammed shut across the station. Emergency barriers dropped from the ceiling. Security drones, small floating robots with stun weapons, rushed toward the recreation hall. The students who had been watching were screaming. Some of them had fainted. Others were crying and calling for help. They looked at Yuna like she was a monster from their worst nightmares. Yuna did not move. She could not move. She stood frozen in the center of the room, staring at the broken body of Crick's, staring at her own hand. She had only pushed him. She had not even tried to hurt him, but now he was dying on the floor. And alarms were screaming, and security drones were pointing weapons at her. And everyone was looking at her like she had just committed murder. I just wanted to save my friend, she whispered. No one heard her. The alarms were too loud. He crawled across the floor toward Yuna. The tiny Marathi was injured and terrified, but she forced herself to move. She reached Yuna's feet and pressed her small body against the human's legs. "Thank you," Dahi whispered. "You saved me." Yuna looked down at her friend. Tears were streaming down her face now. "I didn't mean to," she said. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I just wanted to make him stop." The security drones surrounded them both. Cold mechanical voices ordered Yuna to lie on the floor, to surrender, to not resist. Yuna lay down slowly. She kept her hands visible. She made no sudden movements in her mind. She heard her grandmother's voice one last time. Strength is not about what you can do. It is about what you choose not to do. But sometimes, choosing to do nothing was not an option. Sometimes you had to save the people you loved, even if it destroyed everything. They put Yuna in a special cell designed for dangerous cargo. The walls were thick enough to survive a bomb explosion. The door was made of metal that could stop laser fire. The air came from a separate system, isolated from the rest of the station. There were no windows. There was only a hard bed, a toilet, and silence. Yuna sat on the cold floor. She pulled her knees to her chest and wrapped her arms around them. She did not cry anymore. She had no tears left. She kept seeing Crix's broken body in her mind. The way his scales had cracked. The way his blood had spread across the floor. The way everyone had looked at her with terror in their eyes. She had pushed him. Just a simple push. And she had almost killed him. Outside her cell, the station was in chaos. Medical teams had rushed Crix to the emergency treatment center. He was alive, but barely. His injuries were serious. 3 shattered ribs. Internal bleeding. Damaged spine. The doctors said he would survive, but he would need weeks in a regeneration tank to heal completely. The Veltari Empire responded within hours. Their ambassador, a massive snake creature with scales of pure gold, arrived at the station with 20 guards. He was screaming before he even finished exiting his shuttle. "This is an act of war," he shouted at the Academy Council. "A primitive beast from a garbage plant has attacked the heir to the 3rd noble house. We demand immediate execution. We demand the human's head on a spike. We demand revenge." Earth's representative was a woman named Director Yunji. She was 50 years old with gray hair and tired eyes. She had spent her entire life trying to protect humans in a galaxy that feared them. She stood before the Veltari ambassador without flinching. "The student you call a primitive beast is a 17-year-old girl who weighs 52 kilograms, Director Yunji said calmly. She acted in defense of another student. "Your precious noble heir was caught on camera crushing a Marathi student and threatening to break her bones. Where is his punishment? Where is his tribunal?" The ambassador hissed angrily. "A Veltari noble can do as he wishes with lesser species. This is our right. This is the natural order." "There is no natural order here," Director Yunji replied. "This is Galactic Unity Academy. All species are equal within these walls. Your heir broke the law. The human girl stopped him. That is the truth." The argument continued for hours. The Academy Council listened to both sides. They watched the security footage again and again. They saw Crix wrapping himself around Dohi. They heard his threats. They saw Yuna enter the room and warn him to stop. They saw him attack first. They saw her defend herself with a single push. But they also saw what that push had done to Crix's body. "The human is too dangerous," one council member said. He was a thin creature with glass-like skin and visible organs. Regardless of her intentions, she nearly killed someone with minimal effort. "She is a weapon without control." "She showed remarkable control," another council member argued. "She was an elderly being with 8 eyes and a body covered in silver fur. She could have killed him instantly. Instead, she used the minimum force necessary. She even tried to warn him first." "Minimum force?" The first council member laughed bitterly. 3 shattered ribs and internal bleeding is minimum force for humans? This proves exactly why Deathworlders should not be allowed in civilized space. The debate went back and forth. Some council members wanted Yuna punished severely. Others believed she had acted justly. A few wanted to send her home immediately, ending the human integration program before it truly began. Then the door to the council chamber opened. Dahi walked in. Mirathi was wrapped in bandages. Her ribs were cracked from Crix's grip. Her fur was dull from stress and pain. She walked slowly, carefully, because every step hurt. But she walked with her head held high. "I wish to speak," Dahi said. The council fell silent. The Velthari ambassador started to object, but Director Yunji raised her hand. "Let her speak. She is the victim here, not your precious heir." Dahi walked to the center of the chamber. She was so small compared to the beings around her. She looked like a child among giants. But her voice was steady when she spoke. "Crix has been hurting me for months. He has been hurting many students. Everyone knows this. Everyone sees it. But no one does anything because we are afraid of his family. We are afraid of the Velthari Empire. We are afraid of power." She paused and looked around the room. Yuna was not afraid. She could have walked away. She could have pretended she did not see. That is what everyone else does. That is why I have learned to expect. But Yuna walked into that room and told Crix to stop. She gave him a chance. He attacked her first. She only defended herself and saved my life. Dahi's voice cracked with emotion. Yuna is from a death world. Yes, she is strong. Yes, she could hurt people easily. But she has never hurt anyone. She has only been kind. She sits alone at every meal because people are afraid of her. She sleeps in a cell designed for dangerous cargo. She has every reason to be angry, every reason to lash out, but she never does. She just wants to be a normal student. She just wants to have friends. The Mirathi looked directly at the Velthari ambassador. "Your heir wanted to break my ribs one by one. He told me I was prey. He said my species exists to be eaten. But you call him the victim? You call my friend the monster?" Taiwan stood up from the audience section. The massive gray-skinned Meyer walked forward until he stood next to Dahi. "I have worked with humans," Taiwan said in his deep rumbling voice. "In the mining colonies, humans work beside my people. They are strong, stronger than almost any species. They could kill us easily. But do you know what they actually do? They save us. When tunnels collapse, humans are the first ones digging through the rubble. When accidents happen, humans are the first to give blood, first to share their food, first to carry the injured to safety." He turned to look at the council. Humans are not monsters. They are protectors. They use their terrible strength to help others. This girl did exactly what humans do. She saw someone weak being hurt by someone powerful, and she stopped it. This is not a crime. This is heroism. One by one, other students came forward. An Allery who had seen Crix bully younger students. A Velthari from a lower family who Crix had threatened and humiliated. A floating crystal being who had witnessed everything in the recreation hall. They all told the same story. Crix was a bully who used his family's power to hurt others. Yuna was a quiet girl who only wanted to make friends. The attack was self-defense and protection of another student. The council voted 7-5 in favor of Yuna. She would not be executed. She would not be expelled. She would receive a formal warning and be required to wear a device that monitored her body's condition. If her heart rate or strength levels increased too much, Harmony would be alerted. The Velthari ambassador stormed out of the chamber, threatening revenge and war. But even he knew that the evidence was too clear. His heir had been caught on camera torturing a helpless student. The galaxy would not support a war over that dot in her isolated cell. Yuna did not know any of this. She sat in the darkness and waited for judgment. When the door finally opened, she expected guards. She expected chains and punishment. Instead, she saw Director Yunji smiling at her. "You're free," the director said. "Your friends saved you." Yuna started to cry again, but this time, the tears were from happiness. 3 weeks after the incident, Crix left the academy. The regeneration tank had healed his body completely. His ribs were restored. His internal organs were repaired. His scales grew back even more beautiful than before. Physically, he was perfect again. But something inside him had changed forever. Every night, he dreamed of Yuna's calm eyes looking at him. He dreamed of her walking toward him without fear. He dreamed of her hand touching his chest, and then he woke up screaming. The doctors called it trauma. His family called it weakness. The Valkyrie Empire quietly withdrew him from the academy. They told the public that Crix had health concerns that required him to study at home. Everyone knew the truth, but no one said it out loud. The great noble heir had been defeated by a human girl with a single push. His reputation was destroyed. Yuna tried not to think about him. She tried to focus on her studies and her friends. But sometimes, late at night, she still saw his broken body in her mind. She still wondered if she could have stopped him without hurting him so badly. The monitoring device sat around her wrist like a simple bracelet. It was made of silver metal with a small blue light that blinked softly. Harmony watched through this device, tracking her heart rate, her adrenaline levels, her muscle tension. If any of these increased too much, alerts would activate. Yuna did not mind wearing it. It made other people feel safer around her. And if that small sacrifice helped her fit in, she was happy to make it. But something strange had happened after the incident. The fear had not disappeared. Students still kept their distance when she walked through the hallways. They still felt quiet when she entered a room. But now there was something else mixed with the fear. Respect. Students nodded at her when she passed. Some of them even smiled shyly before looking away. A group of younger Marathi students started following her at a safe distance, watching her with wonder in their eyes. An Allery instructor who had avoided her for weeks actually stopped to talk to her about the homework. In the cafeteria, something changed too. Yuna still sat at her usual table, but the tables nearby were not empty anymore. Students sat near her, not close enough to touch, but close enough to be in the same space. They glanced at her when they thought she was not looking. Some of them whispered to each other and smiled. Dahi recovered from her injuries within a week. Her cracked ribs healed quickly in the low-gravity environment. She returned to the garden dome with extra energy, hopping around Yuna in excited circles. "You're famous," Dahi squeaked. "Everyone is talking about you. The first-year students think you're a hero. Some of them made drawings of you. Look, someone painted you punching a giant space monster." Yuna looked at the drawing on Dahi's tablet. It showed a muscular warrior woman with flowing black hair, fighting a creature that looked like a dragon. The warrior was at least 2 meters tall, with arms like tree trunks. "That doesn't look anything like me," Yuna said. "It's symbolic," Taiwan said from his usual spot under the silver-leaf tree. "You have become a legend. Legends do not look like real people." Yuna shook her head. "I'm not a legend. I'm just a girl who got lucky." Taiwan made a rumbling sound that might have been a laugh. "You stopped a Valkyrie noble with one hand. You saved a life without thinking about the consequences. You faced down the entire Valkyrie Empire and survived. That is not luck. That is something else. What is it then?" "I think," Dahi said slowly, "it is being human." In the control center of the station, Harmony was processing enormous amounts of data. The AI had recorded everything that happened during the incident and the tribunal. It had analyzed every word, every gesture, every expression. It was trying to understand something that did not fit its programming. Humans were classified as potential extinction level entities. Their physical abilities far exceeded any species allowed in civilian areas. They could kill with casual movements. They could shatter walls and bend metal. By all logical measures, they should be treated as weapons. But this human, this small girl from a flooded city on a Deathworld, had not behaved like a weapon. She had cried when she hurt someone. She had tried to warn her attacker before defending herself. She had shown restraint even in the middle of combat. She had protected a creature much weaker than herself, risking everything to save a friend. Harmony created a new file. It was titled Human Behavioral Analysis, Contradictory Data. The AI began recording new observations. It watched Yuna help a struggling Alori student carry books that were too heavy for the thin blue creature. It watched her share her lunch with a group of young Mirathi who were too scared to use the main cafeteria. It watched her sit quietly with Taiwan, listening to his poetry without laughing or judging Dot slowly. Harmony began to update its classification system. Humans were reclassified from potential extinction level entity to high-risk allied species. The change was small, just a few words in a database. But it represented something much bigger. It represented the beginning of understanding Dot in the Garden Dome. Yuna watched the artificial sunset with her friends. The ceiling was painted with colors of orange and pink and gold. The alien plants sang their soft evening songs. For the first time in months, she felt peaceful. I got a message from Director Yoonji today, she said quietly. The Academy has approved 3 more human transfer students for next semester. Dahi's ears perked up. More humans? Really? Really. Yuna smiled. They're younger than me. 15 and 16 years old. They're scared about coming here. Scared about how everyone will treat them. Will you help them? Taiwan asked. Of course. Yuna looked at her hands, the hands that had once terrified her with their hidden strength. I'll teach them what I learned. How to be gentle. How to be patient. How to make friends even when everyone is afraid of you. She paused and looked at her 2 closest friends in the entire galaxy. And I'll tell them the most important thing. That being strong doesn't mean hurting people. It means protecting them. It means using your power to help others, not to make them suffer. Dai hopped onto Yuna's lap. It was the first time she had ever been so close. Yuna could feel how light and fragile the small Marathi was. She could break Dai with a careless movement. But she did not. She held perfectly still and let her friend get comfortable. My grandmother used to tell me something, Yuna said softly. She said that real strength is knowing you could destroy something and choosing not to. I used to think she was talking about fighting, but now I understand. She was talking about love. Taiwan nodded slowly. Your grandmother was wise. She was the strongest person I ever knew, and she never hurt anyone in her entire life. The artificial stars began to appear on the dome ceiling. They sparkled against the growing darkness, tiny points of light in an ocean of black. Somewhere out there, millions of light years away, was Earth, a death world. A planet of monsters and survivors and dreamers. And now, a planet whose children were reaching out to the galaxy, one friendship at a time. Harmony recorded the scene in the Garden Dome. The AI saved the image to its files. 3 beings from 3 different worlds, sitting together in peace. A human, a Mirathi, and a miner. Predator, prey, and laborer. All of them equal. All of them friends. The file was saved with a new title, Why Humans Are Terrifying, and Why That Might Be a Good Thing. Underneath, Harmony added a note, Further study required. Recommend continued observation. Initial conclusion. Deathworlders measure strength not by destruction, but by protection. The AI was learning, the galaxy was learning, and Yuna, the small girl from the flooded districts of Old Bizen, the first human to ever attend Galactic Unity Academy, was teaching them all a lesson they would never forget. Monsters do not cry for the creatures they hurt. Monsters do not warn their enemies before fighting. Monsters do not sit with their friends and watch the stars. Humans were terrifying, yes, but not because they were monsters. They were terrifying because they chose not to be. And that made all the difference.